Hello, everyone. Hello. This is me, Kasia. As always, the same face. But today I'm joined by something brand new on our Wanderlust team of teachers. And this is Lisa Goddard. Hello, Lisa. Thank you very
Hello,
much.
everyone.
Hello, thank you very much for joining this, for doing this little chat with me, because I think many of our followers and adventurers watching this will love to hear your story. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do? Who are you, Lisa?
Thank you. Yeah, I am Lisa. I live in the UK in South Yorkshire in Sheffield. So right slam right in the middle. I couldn't get my words out then. Right in the middle of England. I have been working in my art journals for about 20 years. I started just after my fine art degree, which seems like an absolute age ago. Yes, I'm a mixed media artist. I teach tutorials. I do in-person classes, virtual classes. I do all sorts of things, as well as the art journaling, lots of painting, drawing, all sorts.
All sorts.
All sorts.
So you mentioned your fine arts degree. So how did you go from fine arts to mixed media? How did this happen?
How did it happen? When I did my fine arts degree, I specialized largely actually in sculpture while I was there. And I did a lot of textile-based sculptures, things like I knit huge, great big blankets and then sculpt them into things. And when I left, I didn't have the facilities to do all these wonderful big sculptures. So I was a little bit lost. And I just remember scouring the internet and came across art journaling. And I just thought, ooh, that looks interesting. And I loved sort of all the combinations of the mixed media. There was no kind of limitations with it. So I decided to give it a go. I actually emailed an artist and said, how'd you start? And she gave me some really good advice about it. So
do you know who that was? Do you remember?
It was an artist called Jen Worden.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, I don't know if she'd remember me, but I emailed her and she was really kind and she gave me lots of advice on how to get started and I've just not looked back really. Yeah, so
So we should thank Jen. Yes.
yes, thank you, Jen.
For her, we would thank you. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because you also do other forms of art, you mentioned portraits, do you find that art journaling is like your practice ground, or does your journaling inspire other pieces? Or which way how does it work?
Back and forth, I would say. Now, when I was at university, I loved the sketchbook work that we had to do. We had to do sketchbooks throughout all our projects to kind of back up our whatever work we were doing. And I always loved that process. And I think that side of it's continued. So when I'm working in my journal, I get inspired by certain combinations of mediums and things like that to then go on and work on a project. A painting or a drawing of some kind, but it can work the other way around as well. So you can be painting a portrait or something and thinking, oh, I really like these colors, or I really like this effect, and I'm going to put that into the journals as well. So kind of pulls in both directions now.
I can only guess that you wouldn't be able to choose one or no.
Yeah.
No. So when you work on your mixed media pages, I love your style, and people, you must have a look, because Lisa is a great artist, and I love the see-through layers and a lot of watercolors, right? Or is it inks that you mostly use?
I like using, I'd say watercolors mainly.
Yeah, and fabric,
yeah.
Right?
Lots of fabric. That's come in the last 4 years or so. I've gone back to using a lot more textiles, which is kind of again another little throwback to my university days. But yeah, I've kind of rediscovered my love of the fabric relatively recently, I would say. But yeah, love the watercolors, and I do use inks, but yeah, I love the sort of transparency that you can create with things like watercolors. You can see all the depth and all the different layers.
All right. And the fabrics, I mean, they add so much texture. And I think like, especially with watercolors, which are so soft and very, very gentle somehow, when there is some texture of fabric next to it, I think that's one of my favorite things about your art, how you combine the two. But how do you choose which products, materials to use? Do you have a set formula that you always follow? Do you just sit down and whatever's around you, or how?
One of the ways that I've kind of learned to work is to really let the mediums guide me. So I will start with something and that will sort of lead me on to other things, and I try not to overthink it, just try and let it sort of come naturally. But I do have my favorite sort of go-tos. So I like to start with collage, because that just kind of sort of gets you started, gets you going, gets some texture down. So that tends to be the most common method of how I would start, is you're starting with that, with the scraps of paper, just sort of pulling them off my desk from here and there and getting them down. And there are favorites that I always lean to. Coffee watercolors, let me say, things like that tend to come quite frequently, just because I love using them. But I do, like I say, try and let the mediums guide me. So yeah, and whatever feels good. So you kind of like, well, this feels good, so I'll carry on with this, or this mark is feeling good, so I'll repeat it, or that sort of thing. So you kind of let the process guide you.
Whatever feels good. I think that's the best quote already of this interview. Whatever feels good, because we so often forget about, how important it is to just be in the process and actually enjoy it, because we try and, get to a certain result or finish with something that's visually pleasing. Well, sometimes that's a bit irrelevant, isn't it?
Yeah, I for ages kind of would fret over the end result, and yeah, I've learned to sort of put that to one side and like I say, enjoy the process. The process is the key. That's the best thing, and whatever happens at the end happens. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not.
It's only paper at the end of the day, right? It's only paper. Do you feel attached to your art journals, or after you finish working on them, do you go through them often, or do you just put them away and never look at them again? What's your relationship with your finished art journals?
I do love them. I just kind of, they'll sit on a shelf, and I do go through and flick through occasionally. Sometimes when you have a little you're feeling a bit unmotivated or a little bit lost, sometimes you can go back through them and think, oh yes, I remember that combination, or I haven't used that medium for ages, and so they can give you some inspiration. I never touch them after that, like I never go back and add to them, because I think they're like a moment in time. So I don't want to sort of mess with that. That's just a moment of that's passed and gone. So I don't ever add to once it's finished. But yeah, they're really good for inspiring me and get me started sometimes.
And speaking of inspiration, we talk a lot about inspiration, what inspires us, and how to translate it into our art on Wanderlust Live and on Wanderlust in general. And the one thing that very often comes up is nature. Do you find nature inspiring? Do you have any specific places that have a significant, role in your art?
Nature is a huge inspiration. The colors and the textures and everything that you get when you're out walking. And I'm feel incredibly lucky that I live on the edge of the Peak District National Park, which is just, I think, one of the most beautiful places on the planet.
Absolutely agree.
Yes. And the changing of the seasons throughout there, walking, and just like autumn's one of my favorites, because all the bracken sort of goes golden, and you've just got these gorgeous colors everywhere around you. So yeah, that's a massive influence. And recently getting into things like eco dyeing, I actually started to pull elements and use them directly in my work, which I'm really enjoying.
Do you often incorporate other forms of art or other art disciplines into your art journaling?
Yes, I would say when I'm doing painting, I sort of feel like sometimes I go through phases of things. So if I'm in a painting phase and I'm doing lots of portraits or something like that, then I do then think, oh, I'll pull some of this into my journals as I'm going along. The journals are sort of a constant thing that's sort of happening in the background, but every once in a while on different projects, they'll whatever I'm using will get drawn in drawn into the journals. So I love landscapes. I'm not very good at doing landscapes, but I love them. And every once in a while, I end up having a go at one in a journal and seeing what happens, that sort of thing.
Are your art journals usually small, quite small?
Yeah, I do like working small. I just find it a lot easier, and I can grab them and put them in my bag and take them with me wherever I'm going. And
Oh, so
yeah, I often feel a little bit daunted if I'm faced with something huge. So yeah, they are sort of, yeah, generally A5 is probably about as big as I work in, really.
And would you work on just like one spread at a time, or flip from one to another, work in a series? I don't know how much time you've got.
I tend to work at one at a time. Generally, yeah, I would say it just kind of bob into the art room and do a page and go off and do something else, and yeah, come back.
So that could be, I suppose, potentially good advice for people who are starting out to have a smaller art journal, right?
Yeah, you can easily do a page in whatever time you've got, and that's the biggest thing I hear people say is, oh, they don't have the time, or finding the time for art is really difficult for them. But if you work small, a page can be done in 5-10 minutes, and it's just that little quick bit of me time where I can just focus on that.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be finished, right, at once.
No.
Yeah. Do you have any other advice for people who are just starting out? Because you have a lot of experience. 20 years? What are you talking about?
Yeah, 20 years. I can't believe I've been doing it that. And my style's changed and developed. And
oh, yeah, let's talk about that. Yes. So does it change? How do you feel when it changes?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
How do you feel about it when it changes? When you see you start to do a different thing? Is it a new you, or is it every 7 years, or?
No, I think it's a gradual thing. You pick up new ideas, you pick up new mediums, you pick up inspiration from here, there, and everywhere, and naturally your style then develops and grows. And I look back with fondness at my earlier journals, really, and think, oh yeah, I've definitely come a lot further now, but there's still that's still part of my story, even though
And I think
they're not the best. I would say they're not very good now, but they're still my story. So
yes,
I love them.
and I think the word that you use, develops, your style develops, rather than the word that I use, changes, is very good and important, because I think, like, especially on social media, we can get caught up in having to do the same thing, because if one thing that we did is popular on social media, gets likes, people love it, we get a lot of praise for it, we feel like as artists we should do the same again and the same again and the same again. And then when your style changes, I've seen this happen a few times to other artists, they can get a little criticized by people that they change. You don't do this anymore. We want to see more of that thing.
Yeah,
So
I do fall into that trap, I think, because I do a lot of painting and drawing, and I rarely share it.
Right.
Actually, because I think people know me for the art journaling. So yeah, you kind of get in a trap of just sharing what you think people want to see.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dangerous game, that is. Yeah, so I think, like what you said, is important, that our style develops. It has a right to develop. It should. It's natural. And sometimes it doesn't matter if it doesn't get likes and lots of praise.
Yeah, as long as you like it, yourself, if you're attached to it and you like it, then that's hopefully, I mean, it's hard to do and hard to say, isn't it? But that should be the most important thing, that you like it.
Yeah, part of our journey. Right. So Lisa, you will be streaming live, yesterday, tomorrow, which is Sunday, which is 3rd of September. Just so you know, people, if you're watching this a few days later, that live stream the recording will be then now available in the classroom. Okay, I complicated this. Anyway, Lisa, tomorrow your live stream, it's at 7 p.m. UK time, right? Yes. Confirm. You tell us what it's going to be about. Get us excited for it.
So I'm going to be taking you through an art journal page spread, and I'm thinking about fragility. So looking at sort of see-through layers and delicate ways to put together the page, so that you get this kind of sense of something fragile and beautiful, hopefully. So we'll be doing some spill writing, and we'll be doing some stitching and putting together some hopefully interesting pages.
The supply list for this is available already in the classroom. So if you want to get ready, people, which I know obviously you all want to get ready for it, I checked the supply list and it's not complicated. So you should all be able to join in with Lisa. I can't wait for that. I'm really pumped. That didn't sound like I'm really pumped. But there's also obviously Lisa's Wanderlust 24 lesson, because Lisa is one of the teachers and we're really, really excited and happy that we can have Lisa on our team this year, because we love Lisa's art. And you will be teaching an alternative star theme.
Yeah.
Which is all about those things that didn't fit into our other categories, but are extremely exciting. So there are things like eco-dyeing, rusting, and Lisa, you will be incorporating some wire or string in your art. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So strings and threads and things like that.
I'm going to read the lesson description right now because I have it right in front of me. It's nature's magic, using nature to dye in, sorry, not wrong. A stitch in time saves 9. A stitch in time saves 9. Sometimes it's difficult to see the bigger picture, but by concentrating on the small things, we can make a difference to the whole. Now, I love that, because I love when lesson descriptions start with the meaning and the subject and the thought behind it, rather than just, using supplies. So I think that's always indicates it's going to be a great lesson. Working with string and thread to explore mark making and meditative slow stitching. Yes, one of my favorites. We take a moment to promise ourselves a small change that will benefit us in the long run. I'll start thinking about my change that I'll promise myself. That sounds really, really fun. Great. Fabulous. Are you excited about it?
I'm excited about it, yes. Absolutely.
Okay, everyone. Underneath this video, there is an affiliate link to purchase Wanderlust 24, and that link belongs to Lisa. So Lisa will get a percentage from each sale that each purchase that you make through the link. So support your artists, people. Click that link, sign up to Wanderlust 24 to see a lesson from Lisa and lots more other lessons. I can't count. Probably around 50, as always. Thank you very much, Lisa. Hopefully you can pop in for a coffee to our Everton art shop, because that's why I was waving people, my hands in the air when Lisa said about the Peak District, because we basically neighbors.
Yes, yeah, I keep meaning to get there, and I will get there.
You will. By the time your lesson is out on Wanderlust, hopefully.
Yes.
We'll see each other. Okay, thank you very much, Lisa, and thank you everyone for watching this. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope it inspired you. Think about how you can start small right now. Your journal doesn't have to be large, doesn't have to take a lot of time, and just enjoy the process, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you for watching.
Thank you.
See you around.
Thanks, bye.